Hello, good evening, and welcome back to Wasp Weekly, number 2. And I do apologise for the late start of this. I was trying to make a note of it earlier on as a forum post, but I'm not nearly popular enough for that. So yeah, it's 10:30 BST. I do apologise for that. Very long work week. About an 11-hour day today, and I know it's a Sunday, and that's why I hoped that I'd be able to have a stream earlier on this afternoon, and I do apologise that I couldn't give any earlier warnings for it, but that's just the way it goes. So I'll give you guys a moment to settle in. We've got 13 things to go through today, but it's a nice little roundup of the lesser known stories of the week, and it's good to bring these things to the fore, because otherwise they wouldn't do, and they would go unnoticed. So with my small platform, let's shed some light on them. But before we get started, of course, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
As we do this every week now, I just lost a viewer. Perfect. So, now that there's a whole one of you watching, let's dig in. From the Mail Online, Judge throws out claim that council is racist for planning to rename Plymouth Square honouring a slave trader and naval commander, which is the more important thing, Sir John Hawkins, awarded for gallantry, of course, after City's black football legend Jack Leslie, who is the 4th top highest scorer for them, but was the first and the only black professional football player at the time. So that's his claim to fame. And Sir John Hawkins wasn't just a slave trader. Of course, he was the one that kind of re-envisioned the British Navy, actually, when it went against the Spanish Armada. He brought the old ships up to date. He had a saving of £4,000 in a year, and yet still was able to raise naval pay. And concurrently, of course, they go on to say that the Spanish didn't like him because he was trading slaves. Not quite. They wanted 7.5% tax, and they did. But with all his savings and being fiscally responsible, that a royal inquiry of fraud was put against him, of which, of course, it saw that there was nothing wrong at all. And it was down to him, apparently, going by, depending on the historians you look at, that we were able to beat the Spanish Armada. And it wasn't just down to Raleigh or Drake in the Elizabethan times. And so, with that in mind, of why the Sir John Hawkins Square is called the Sir John Hawkins Square, that there has of course been a plan to rename it since his descendant Andrew Hopkins in 2006 did a whole publicity stunt in the Gambia, which is best gone just unnoticed, essentially, that they went, we should probably get around to renaming it. So they have tried for Jack Leslie instead, not John Leslie. He's best forgotten, apparently. False accusations do that to a man. And so they went, we'll go with Jack Leslie. So the court case from Mr. Bamping argued that the decision was racist because it was based purely on the colour of Leslie's skin and was a knee-jerk reaction to the death of George Floyd and the BLM movement. Which is, of course, a fair point, but the courts can't be seen to be siding with reason, seeing as it could be portrayed that they're going against black people, in which case they say, no, it's definitely good evidence that we have going on here. So they decided to carry on anyway and ignore their heritage and what made Plymouth so good in the first place, because this guy also participated in the slave trade, and I'm not denying that at all. Yes, he did. He was also one of the first to bring back tobacco from the Americas. But he was also trying to stop the Spanish from going into South America as much. But I suppose then black people from Africa are more important than South Americans. It's quite interesting, this, really, to view the lives of people differently based on their race. Just according to what Plymouth is saying here, that Africans matter more than South Americans. Yes, of course, the Atlantic slave trade was only possible because the Africans were selling other Africans, and they were participating and profiting greatly in the slave trade as well. But, of course, that likes to be swept under the rug. Before we move on, anything you want to add?
No, you did well.
Okay, sorry, right. Moving on, with the thought of apologising for your ancestors. Roald Dahl, His family sorry for author's anti-Semitic remarks. What were the anti-Semitic remarks? Well, according to all the trawling that they could do as journalists, and pulling through all his old interviews from the decades that he was alive, all the times that he spoke to people, all the books that he wrote, all the massive impact that he's had on England and also the world, of course, with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, then including stars like Johnny Depp in the remake. With all of that, what is the absolute worst thing they can say that Roald Dahl's actually said? From all that, well, he's said that in an interview with a New Statesman in 1983, he said he believed that there was a trait in the Jewish character that does provoke animosity. That is it. That is it. So, it's not at all trying to suggest that Jews are inferior, or there's a big conspiracy, or that they're running the world, or anything like that, of course, we've become far more used to from what the Democrats and Labour are saying. That's what we've become accustomed to. But instead of that, he's saying that there are things that Jewish people do that the rest of the people, the goys, don't appreciate. Which, to me, is... I mean, cool, yeah, okay, he said it's a trait in the Jewish character, so it's about the Jewish character, but even then, it's like it does provoke animosity, as if it's just other people's reaction to it. He's not saying that they're inferior, it's just other people don't appreciate what's going on. And that's about it. And I think we could all agree that seeing as the Jewish community does very well in terms of financial abundance, and they go into well-paid professions, hence the theory that they're running the world, because they do well financially, they're more likely to be lawyers, doctors, dentists, that kind of thing, then of course there's animosity, if nothing else because of jealousy. But that's unacceptable, and so his grandchildren have to apologise and say, well, we're really sorry that he was anti-Semitic and it's terrible. It's like, oh, I suppose we should cancel him then. No. Because, of course, Netflix has just come out with the new film version of The Witches, and that's pretty good for revenue. So they're not going to be getting rid of that cash cow anytime soon. As they say, with the enduring popularity of his novels, Roald Dahl's estate continues to be highly lucrative, posting annual pre-tax profits of £12.7 million in 2018, largely thanks to film and television deals. So if it's raking them in money all the time, sure, they're going to be virtue-signalling twats that are going to say, oh, we should really cancel him and he was a really bad person while he was alive. But at the same time, it works pretty good and we can profit from that, so we're going to plow on ahead.
I just think it's silly that you're not allowed to dislike somebody, and that has to become part of the conversation for everybody. Or you have to apologize because you don't like this group of people or this one person. Imagine that you have a group of friends and for some reason you fall out with one of the friends and suddenly you have to apologize for that. No, you just have personal preferences or moral characters that you prefer, or whatever, some features of life that you prefer people to share, and suddenly you're not allowed to have preferences anymore and you have to apologize for having something that's not shared by everyone.
Oh, not even that, it's just ancestors that you had nothing to do with whatsoever.
And yeah, why do you have to apologize now? And he's creating so much value and he's still so valuable, and yet his grandchildren have to apologize for it. I don't understand. That
if you see compared to what's being produced these days in terms of things for children, I think I'd much prefer Roald Dahl. And some of his stuff was actually incredibly dark, but you still got to acknowledge that he's had a big impact and it's largely been positive. A lot of it. I would say that, as I said, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is probably one of his most well-known ones, with Willy Wonka. And there's even the message in that, of course, that it's basically got the 7 deadly sins. And he's saying that if you're just more reserved and sensible with your planning in the future, that good things will happen to you.
I just want to ask, has this ever come across in his stories? I don't know all of them, so I can't say, but no, I don't think so. So even if he doesn't like somebody and it's not coming across in the stories, I just don't see how that's relevant. But we've got a little commenter. It is a premiere. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, hi Adrian. I still believe that nuclear power exists, but Yes, you are first. Well done, thank you. It's not pre-recorded. No, it's not a premiere. It's all live. It's just I tend to speak quickly. It's not at 1.25 times speed that it's been sped up. I just try and slow down for videos. It's just what I'm used to. Listening to things. Hi, Adrian. You're welcome. But moving on from the idea of apologizing for things and censorship, if you will, and not being able to say certain things, we move across to Norway. With Norway criminalizes hate speech against transgender people in private homes or conversations, from Zero Hedge. And this is an article that yourself brought up, so by all means, take it away.
Well, this article says it all, really, but it's just the fact that we need to start speaking up if we haven't already, that this is not okay, this will spread, and it's not okay for the government to control what you can say to your family and to your friends. That's just not okay.
I know, at a risk of enacting Godwin's law, that it is quite similar to getting children to report on their parents if they're saying something that is going against the state, as we saw about 80 years ago, if not a little bit more now, that if people are saying things in private families that's clearly hate speech, or that kind of thing shouldn't be accepted, then you should be reporting it, because this kind of thing can't be acceptable, and this is going to undermine the values that we hold dear, and it's basically violent. Like, thinking of that, I did see an article, and I haven't got it here, that they were saying that, from the left wingers, you've got to stop having your gender reveal parties, because trying to suggest the gender is a violent act once you found it out. So you could say, it's like, oh, we're so many months pregnant. We found out, or the lady is, that found out that we're expecting a son. Woo, gender reveal, it's a boy. It's like, no, that's violent because it could be a female. And then a couple of weeks later, we've changed our mind. We're actually aborting the baby. It's like, cool, yeah, you can suck it out and cut it up and kill it. That's not violent at all. So, yeah, perfect. I see that as definitely congruent. But the thing with Norway, of course, it's still a European country. It's a Scandinavian country, sure, but nonetheless, it's still a European country. So I'm not saying what happens there leads the way for the rest of them, but all the time that they're participating in the European Union experiment, I know that we are supposed to be leaving, but let's not forget that it is already affecting the rest of Europe, as they go on to say. A poll in Germany found only 18% of Germans feel free to express their views in public. Notably, over 31% of Germans did not even feel free expressing themselves in private among friends, which is also why this channel is done through anonymity as well. Just 17% feel free to express themselves on the internet, and 35% say that freedom to speak is confined to the smallest of private circles. And as they say, it's a core value in the Democratic Party. But yes, the lady here is not my interviewee. It is instead my guest, my long recurring guest, who will be with us for the duration. So welcome.
Keeping it anonymous.
Keeping it enthralling. I thought it's worth having a feminine touch to this. So here she is. You're welcome. But
how sad is it that you can't talk openly with your friends?
But thinking of having a lady here, let's not jump to conclusions, because of course we've got from the UK back to the UK, keeping things domestic. Puberty blockers, under 16s unlikely to be able to give informed consent, and this goes all the way for the Travistock Centre. Of course, people speaking out saying we should probably have a bit more guidance than just 3 hours before we decide to go on puberty blockers and like hormonal replacement therapy. There should be at least a little bit more being said. And if you're under 16, then how on earth are you supposed to decide what is best for your future? Let's not get embroiled in the whole university course decisions at that age. But anywho, and so of course it's come to court, of course, and they've essentially broken things down to say, well, if you're over 16, yeah, sure, your family, parents, doctor, court should be involved, but you're over 16, 18, so it is what it is. If you're 14 through 16, then you're going to need some more guidance. You don't really know what you're saying. And if you're under 14, then no, not at all. not at all. It's not down to them because they're a child. They're under 14. They've barely reached puberty. They hardly understand what sexuality is. And chances are, instead of experiencing it for themselves and understanding what is going on, it's just down to what they have been told as they have no first-hand experience. Yes, she's in the same room, Adrian. Hi. So, they say Miss Bell, 23 from Cambridge, had been referred to the Tavistock Centre, which runs the UK's only gender identity development service, as a teenager and was prescribed puberty blockers aged 16. She argued that the clinic should have challenged her more over her decision to transition to male as a teenager. In a ruling, Dame Victoria Sharp, sitting with Lord Justice Lewis and Mrs Justice Leven, said, "It is highly unlikely that a child aged 13 or under would be competent to give consent to the administration of puberty blockers. It is doubtful that a child aged 14 or 15 could understand and weigh the long-term risks and consequences of the administration of puberty blockers. In respect of young persons aged 16 and over, the legal position is that there is a presumption that they have the ability to consent to medical treatment." So that's about it. They're trying to delineate in those three different categories. And yes, it is live. Audience interaction. But yeah, if there's anything else you'd like to add, then by all means go ahead. Get involved. Get involved.
It's absolutely horrible. How is this happening? I don't know. Distressing.
Well, they say that this is the end of empires. This is a similar thing that happened at the end of the Roman Empire, that people kind of just lose track with sexuality and they will pretend to be something that they're not. And I have noticed, because I've heard an electric car advert recently that is all about beatboxing, essentially. And they're pretending in that electric car that they have a massive engine, because I flick the motor and then they pretend, oh, it's the roar of a V8, if not more. And then I go, well, why are you pretending to be something that you're not? Because if it's an electric car, then why don't you go down like the Joe Rogan route or even the Steven Crowder route to say it's so cool that there's no noise and yet you got amazing acceleration? Like, surely that's kind of eerie in a way, but it feels futuristic. Whereas instead they're trying to say, no, we know that you're probably poor and can't afford the car of your dreams, but take this electric car and just make some noises with your mouth to pretend that you've got a good car. And it's the same thing here with transgenderism, pretending to be something that you're not. It's the same thing with veganism, of pretending to be something that it's not. That, oh, it's a meat substitute. It's like, why can't we just appreciate cauliflower for being cauliflower? Cauliflower's all right. And yet, no. Now it's got to pretend to be something else in order to not be meat, or the same as mushrooms. It's like, mushrooms are great. They're even carnivorous. They're closer to an animal than they are a plant. And yet, no, it's like a meat substitute, or plantains. It's ridiculous to me. It's like, if you want to make a choice, fair enough, go ahead and do it. And surely you should be more proud that you're not eating meat, in which case you should just get rid of the meat part entirely, instead of pretend that you're eating meat when you're not.
If it's so close to meat, then why don't you go on an all cauliflower diet? See how that works out for you.
But yeah, it's that kind of thing. It's like, can we just be honest? Could we not? Instead of having to hide behind different things. And I know there's definitely some hypocrisy or irony there, because I'm being honest, but I'm hiding behind an avatar. But the case still stands, I would say, that sure, in this it's because of the backlash that you can't be honest with these things, but that's only because other people aren't being honest either. And it's all about virtue signaling. Because if people were honest and actually try to understand another person's perspective, then they wouldn't be trying to cancel you, because they would want to learn in case they are erroneous, because they're trying to find the truth, instead of push just what feels good to them at the time. Yes, we're in Britain. If you read my channel description, I'm a Brit living in Manchester. I'm in Manchester. And electric cars are not zero CO2. No, not at all. Like the manufacture of them, if you just focus on CO2, is the equivalent of driving a regular car for several years. So no, they're not CO2. Zero CO2, not at all. And that's just the manufacturing part. But there's more to it than CO2, of course. There's stuff of how can you recycle what's then used, and where are you getting the electricity from as well in the first place. It's not trying to be zero CO2. It's basically just putting the problem somewhere else, which is a lot of what this globalism is supposed to be anyway. There's just, let's say then, people living in London, the elites, if you will, going, well, we want clean air, therefore we're going to put those factories or the coal plants, the power plants, a couple hundred miles away and just use our electric lines in order to bring electricity over here so that they can have the smog and the shit weather and climate, and then we can have cleaner air. That's pretty much all there is to it. It's exactly the same as is going on in China, but that's it. You can't hear a Manchester accent. Okay, at this point, I don't know where my accent is from because I listen to people from all around the world, so I don't know. But, moving on, speaking of government overreach, as we've kind of already covered earlier in the week, COVID-19, no plans for vaccine passport yet from Michael Gove. But of course, this is the same Michael Gove saying he's against Boris Johnson. No, he's definitely behind Boris Johnson, that the virus is going to be over soon. No, it's going to last a lot longer. And then, so now he's saying, oh, it's not the plan to have a vaccine passport. So, well, what, as in not the plan yet? That's essentially it. And from what they've been saying about, oh, when are we going to decide to open up the economy? When are we going to decide that it's okay, given that vaccines are apparently not going to be made compulsory? And at that point, surely you just say, well, if you want one, you can have one, and if you don't want one, you don't want one. Brilliant. Job done. Then you've got to understand that people are still going to contract COVID, in which case, when are you going to open up the economy? Because if you're saying, now the vaccines are available, and everybody who can have one has had one, and everybody who doesn't want one hasn't had one, if you're opening up the economy then, surely you can do it now with the idea that if you're okay going outside, you'll go outside, and if you're not okay going outside, you won't go outside. I don't see anything particularly changing, so if you're optimistic, the only way it's going to change is so that the government can kind of not lose face and just say, well, enough of people have had it now, so that, no, it's not herd immunity, but we've flattened the curve so that the NHS will not be overwhelmed. And if they actually get to the point where the NHS is not overwhelmed in winter, I think that's a miracle. I can't remember the last time the NHS was not overwhelmed in winter, or just not overwhelmed, let alone in winter. So I don't see any point at which they could honestly say something has drastically changed, which has allowed us to change our approach. At this point, more so than other points, it's optics. And that's it. But anything else for yourself? Because you've been very quiet this time, and I think people are missing you.
No. Well, I think that it's saying there are no plans to introduce this until there are plans to introduce this. So I very much think that it will come at some point. But we just need to stay firm on the fact that it is our body, our choice.
And as we seem to be getting back in the comments to electric cars, yes, Adrian, there's also a lot more. It wouldn't just cost billions to upgrade the electrical grid, if not more. But given that it's not just the electrical grid, but it's also the amount of electricity being produced, that it depends on the estimates that you're looking at, but it's at least 4 times, if not 16 times, the amount of electricity that we're already producing. And it's going to be so unreliable in how much is needed at any given time that you're going to need better batteries. Battery technology is not nearly good enough in order to store this. So one solution is the whole smart electrical network, which is you always leave your stuff plugged in, and when someone else needs electricity, they siphon it out from your vehicle and give it to somebody else. And the other is that you just need massive batteries for everybody's house. And that's it, in the idea that it will average out over any given day. But, as you say, we need so much more electricity being produced, and if you look at Hinkley Point and how long that bloody well took to pass the regulations and the red tape, and even then they need Chinese influence and their investment, that trying to get that in any other place, even for just a coal power plant, let alone trying to go nuclear, or whatever they might be doing. If it's then a wind farm, that there's only so much wind, or tidal power, well, how much tidal power can we take? Especially given then if you're thinking of dams and rivers and streams, well, of course, if you're taking the energy out, then you're slowing down the stream as well. But there is a limit how much it can be done. Even if you put wind turbines everywhere in the UK and tidal everywhere in the UK that you can, you still wouldn't have enough. You've still got to go with something that is either fossil fuels or nuclear. And as it stands, that takes at least 10 years in order to put the first brick on the ground. So if they're trying to say, oh yeah, well, we should all go electric within 15 years, it's like you bloody well can't handle it. Unless you're going to be cutting regulation, it's not going to happen. And they're not going to be cutting regulation because, although, of course, they're only getting in the way, they've got to be seen as being really just always needed for everybody, everywhere. That you couldn't live if the government wasn't there, because they have to pretend to be important so the people don't realise they're only getting in the way. And that is why they get involved in everything, because if there's an aspect of life the government hasn't touched, you'll realise just how better life is without government. And it'll start to make you wonder, if there wasn't so much government in other aspects of my life, would my life be better overall? And you'd quickly realise that it would be. So as soon as something new crops up, they have to get in there, and they have to get in there first. That's the only time government moves quickly. It moves quickly so as to move slowly. That's what it does. But, yes, on that, Steph, lots of stories of hospitals being almost empty. Yes, the Nightingale wing as well. 42% of maximum capacity? Well, when was that its fullest? If that? It's like, great, good job. Doesn't seem like it was worthwhile. And we're going to get into excess deaths from COVID in the next article. Does the lady in the room come from another European country? Yes. We're all lonely. Well, welcome, 14 goals with 37 appearances. This will be your 38th, and your comment's been read out, so view it as another goal. But I expect that to be a reference I'm not getting. Sorry. Anything else from yourself?
No, just hi to everyone who joined the chat, and I really can't say much about cars, so.
And yes, Adrian. Yeah, everything that makes energy cost fossil fuels. Yeah, the idea, if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, is that we're going to go so renewable at some point that even to then manufacture the new green energy or the renewable energy items like solar panels or wind turbines or whatever it is, that will all be powered by the renewable energy sources. That is if you wish to give them the benefit of the doubt. But then you've got to see how efficient they are and how effective they are and how long do they last in order to decide, well, hey, if a solar panel lasts 10 years and you need 8 years in order for it to be worthwhile, if you're then using that energy to create another one, how many do you need to create and use them to create more before it actually becomes efficient? And then you have to factor in the materials being used and how much is recyclable and how much is not. And at some point you just have to cut your losses and say, fuck it, never mind. Why don't we just get the quicker results now and keep at it, because it seems to be more efficient in the long run. A Cybertruck, is that a Tesla thing, Elon Musk? Bet it is, where it looks like it's something from the old Lara Croft games. Pointy. And so bulletproof. I just love how he rolled with it. Elon. But back to COVID. COVID deaths. How many have there been? What has the effect been of lockdowns on wider society? Well, from the end of November, we saw from CNN, of all places, in Japan, more people died from suicide last month than from COVID in all of 2020. And women have been impacted most. Yes, of course. Yes. Because the rate of suicide for women have gone up by 83% or 80%. And for men, they've gone up 20%, which means that now women are almost, in fact, no, just over half as likely to commit suicide as men. Yeah, which means men only commit suicide twice as often as women. So women most impacted. Don't just love it. That CNN are basically saying, so people are committing suicide. It's like that's bad. So yeah, we know that mainly affects men. So okay. And COVID restrictions are bad. So yeah, but you know that's what your side of the Democrats are pushing for with their martial law and lockdowns, especially in California now. So okay. Damn, it doesn't seem to be looking good for CNN's cause. How can they twist things so as to take the attention off of what their side is doing. Women are most affected. And it reminds me of what Dr. Randall was saying, that it's like, no matter who you are, where you are, what your opinions are, you will get the adoration and the applause that you're looking for if you say that those people over there aren't treating their women very well. And that's just true across the board. He's saying that in regards to, like, speaking about Islam, for example, so basically, as a feminist, you say, over here, men aren't treating women very well, whereas as a right-winger then, you would say, oh, Islam isn't treating women very well. Like, yeah, exactly. So what you're saying is, this out-group, basically this group I'm not a part of, isn't treating women very well. And you can say that as anyone about anyone else, and people will always applaud you. And it's that tried and tested method that CNN is going here. Why do they say women are most impacted? Because their rate of suicide has increased greater than the proportion for men. Still fewer committing suicide, of course. Women are more likely to attempt suicide, though, than men are, for what it's worth. And they say here women are more likely to be in part-time jobs in the hospitality sector, in which case they're more affected by the lockdown, even though they do say that the lockdown is only mild. And also women, if they have children, then they're expected to keep their job and also take care of the children, which is more difficult now. So, what, as in because they can't keep their job? This seems to be a bit of a non sequitur. Or if so, then where's the man? Where's the father? Where's the husband? Can't ask that, because women are strong, independent people, and, women can do everything on their own. But I thought you said women are most affected and they're killing themselves more often. Seems like they can't. So, oh, you're saying that they need help, they need social support groups, and they shouldn't be ostracised for being women? Cool. Are we allowed to say the same about men now? No, right. Because men shouldn't have any help at all, ever. But they do go on to say that the reason that we know this about Japan and not other places is that Japan is one of the few major economies to disclose timely suicide data. The most recent national data for the US, for example, is from 2018. The Japanese data could give other countries insights into the impact of pandemic measures on mental health and which groups are the most vulnerable. The only country with a higher suicide rate is South Korea. But yeah, anything to add to that?
It sounds fairly normal that everybody's experiencing stress right now, or they have trouble getting enough money to cover rent or anything like that. I don't see that as a specifically female issue.
No, it just joins the narrative, basically, and women aren't expected to work; they're expected to be taken care of. It's pretty much it. It's entitlement. But they say that we don't know about the US. Well, the closest we've got is an article from May. So I know this is a weekly thing, and it's a bit of a blast from the past mentioning May, but this is from The Sun, take it or leave it, saying California doctors say they have seen more suicides than coronavirus deaths during lockdown. And they're saying that it's only going to get worse, so we should stop the lockdown now, because it's been going on for many weeks. Ah, how innocent they were in May. Do we all remember what sunshine looked like? What it looked like speaking to a journalist without wearing a mask? Do we all remember those times? Do we all make the most of them when we had summer to look forward to and being outside? Wasn't that good? The head of the trauma, Dr. Mike DeBoit-Blank, believes that the lockdown restrictions need to end in May because of the impact they're having on mental health. He told ABC7, personally, I think it's time. I think originally this shelter-in-place order was put in place to flatten the curve and to make sure hospitals have the resources to take care of COVID patients, giving them the benefit of the doubt. We have the current resources to do that, and our other community health is suffering. We've never seen numbers like this in such a short period of time. I mean, we've seen a year's worth of suicide attempts in the last 4 weeks. His colleague, Casey Hansen, who has worked as a trauma nurse for 33 years, agrees. She said, "What I've seen recently, I've never seen before. I've never seen so much intentional injury. They intend to die. Sometimes people make what we call a gesture. It's a cry for help. We're just seeing something a little different right now. It's upsetting." And that's the old chart, of course, of total deaths with COVID. Or even if they haven't had a proper test, it was just they had some symptoms that were similar to it, and therefore it's definitely a COVID death. But we've missed some comments, so...
There's a heated debate going on there.
Oh, Christ, let's jump in then. So, what have we got going on? For picking up from the last one, love the idea of the calf driving itself, as in, I'm a bit lazy. Get a taxi, it's the same thing. As far as you're concerned, it's the same. Your car will come pick you up. It will take you to where you want to go, with no involvement whatsoever. It's a taxi. And you might think, oh, well, that costs. It's like, yeah, so does fuel, so does wear and tear, and so does tax, and so does insurance. So there you go. Get a taxi. Adrian, did you know that oil is pretty much unlimited and oil scarcity is a scam? Yes, I think that's what Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman were saying. That the scarcity when it comes to these natural resources. It's like, oh, we're going to run out of oil soon. It's like, oh no, that's terrible. It's like, yeah, like this place now is running low on oil, therefore it's more expensive to mine for it. So, oh, is that expensive to mine for it? Well, that means that it's profitable to mine for oil or drill for oil over here now. And so it's not just, Norway, but of course you got new technologies as well, like in America with fractional distillation. Fracking, used by its terror word. And so, yeah, you're completely right. That technology is going to increase, and if the cost increases, then other oil fields are going to open up. And once they get drilled into, then of course the price is going to drop because then it's open and vacant. So yeah, it is pretty much a scam. Yes, I agree. I deserve a bigger audience. Aw, you're so kind. I agree. But what are we going to do about it? Because it's not happening. I can't remember how he found my channel. Neither can I. Sorry. I wish I could help. Really do. Dinosaurs never existed. Another scam. Oh, I love this. I do love conspiracy theories. I really do. Armored Skeptic, blast from the past back in the day. His conspiracy videos are fantastic. And if you like the idea of the great cataclysmic event, ancient Egyptians, Graham Hancock, then the YouTube channel Bright Insight is also fantastic for that. To say that the Egyptians are a lot older than we thought, not 6,000 years old, but at least 13,600 years old. Then yeah, go check into him, Jimmy from Bright Insight, and then you've got Nikola Tesla with the free energy and mud flood conspiracies as well from Armored Skeptic. So go look into his. I'm sure you're aware of him anyway. His are definitely worthwhile. Steph, have an illness that requires me to inject a medicine that turns off my immune system. And I sympathise. That sounds almost similar to if you've had a organ transplant. It doesn't have to be an illness. You just have to suppress your immune system so that it doesn't take out the new organ that has been transplanted into you. And with the advancements of medicine and organ transplants being more common, then yeah, that kind of thing is going to happen. So, when it comes to side effects of things and trying to understand how everybody is going to be affected by one little change, it becomes impossible. Do I believe that man has been to the moon? At the moment, yeah, I do. I haven't looked into it enough to decide not. Basically, I have no strong view, but I'll lean towards yes. But my mind can always be changed on these things. China's been to the moon recently. They planted their flag. What I found funny was when America went. It was one small step for man, one giant leap. One small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. And they did it for the express purpose of peace and all of mankind. China went, put a China flag on the moon, went, yeah, China. Very different mindset. Yeah, you're completely on the fence about moon landings. 14 goals with 37 appearances. I'm just going to call you 14. As long as you don't change your name to end with 88, we're all going to be fine. Otherwise, we will be censored on this channel. If we haven't been already. Adrian, Apollo was the first step. A few more steps up is 9/11. I was just talking about being censored. And we're gone. Susan. So, yeah, just moving on about moon landings. Yeah, okay. Cool. Good stuff. Keep it up. Keep yourself entertained then. That's fine. Not into the 88 worship. Good. I'm glad, but all sorts turn up here. It's just if you put 14 there, then it's just bound to happen. As I was doing some calculations for a friend the other day, and it turned out to be 1,488. I kind of looked at him and went, "Hang on, did you plan this on purpose?" Just like, what does that mean? And then you're thinking, well, shit, I can't really tell you what it means if you don't know. Otherwise, you're going to think that I supported. Otherwise, why would I know? So it's like, just wondering. No, just yeah. What a sad situation. Anyway, yeah. So anything else you wanted to add to COVID?
No.
Cool, but thinking of flus, we all remember bird flu, don't we? Bird flu, swine flu, H1N1. Oh dear, yeah. The terrifying pandemic that happened when Obama was president. Um, and of course, estimates of millions of people dead. But that was Professor Ferguson, so of course he was freaking well out, and that didn't happen. And so it's the same guy's predictions, predicting the same kind of thing, having the same kind of outcome. But we listened to him this time, and again, it beggars belief as to why we did. And Sweden went, nah, he's full of shit. Went, yeah, there he is. Oh, sorry, will I be taking the vaccine? No. No, I won't. As far as I'm concerned, I've already had it. I've had all the symptoms. But the thing is, because the government said, like, oh, there's this around and you should be tested for it, because, well, they didn't quite say because why, except, so you should be tested for this. It's like, oh, right, because what, there's a cure. So if I'm tested, I can be given this cure. Fantastic. It's like, no. You get tested for it, so that then when we say you've got it, whether or not you've actually got it because of false positives, but whatever, you get tested for it, so that then we say you have to stay home, so you can't work and you can't earn any money, and all your friends and family that also have to work to support themselves have to stay home as well. So you take this test on the off chance that you have it, we'll tell you that you have it, and now you've ruined 2 weeks, if not a month, for your family and friends. Roll up, come get tested. And you got to think of how many people are going to be thinking, yeah, I might have had it, or I might have it, but I don't really want to get tested. But I had the symptoms pretty early on, before testing became a thing, really. So that's my out at least. And apparently that means you're 90% chance of not getting it again. So only 5% less likely than having the vaccine. So I'm pretty chill about it now. Young and healthy, or young enough, healthy enough, I hope. So I'll be fine. I have no intention of getting the vaccine. Anybody else who wants it can go take it. That's fine. But personally, nah, I'll not bother. Anyway, sorry. Bird flu. Yes. So I think we just cut out a bit briefly. Are we back?
Yeah.
We're back. Okay. Oh no, Susan, what are you doing? Getting wicked. So, yeah, bird flu. All captive birds in Britain to be kept indoors amid outbreak. Funny thing is, of course, in order to be free range, you've got to be outdoors. You can't be inside and caged. So does this mean we're not going to be allowed to buy any more free range chickens or turkeys? And turkeys especially, because in the run up to Christmas, most of us like our festive turkey. Normally it's quite a dry meat and people don't like it, but it's a tradition, so we'll go for it and accept those marked up prices. But of course, they were trying to go for it in America, saying, yeah, Thanksgiving, you can't really have that because we're scared about the coof. And so, oh, okay. What day is it after Thanksgiving? It's Black Friday. Oh, but we probably shouldn't go out because of the coof. No, go out. Spend, it's fine. So, oh. I'm beginning to think that this isn't actually about healthcare. And it's just about a big wealth transfer and demoralising the public. Because that is exactly what your actions are suggesting. Because, as we said before, and I will again and again, I'm sorry, that this is basically just a massive wealth transfer to go from the poor people, who are receiving stimulus checks then, to then go, well, where are we going to buy our things? Well, the only places available are the massive stores, like Amazon. Oh, well, then we'll have to buy it from there. So, cool. So your money that's being printed and given to you, then, of course, you can't save because it's bloody difficult to stay alive, in which case you're spending it the only place you can, which is then going in the pockets of the already super wealthy. So, okay, fine. What about the middle class, though, who do have some savings and can fall back on it? So, okay, so they've got some savings, and then quantitative easing kicks in. So you've got like 23.6% of all US dollars were printed in the last year, which is pretty massive inflation. What does that mean? It means every single dollar has less value, and it's the same case in the UK. So if you've got savings, they're now worth less. So, okay, so now the middle class are fucked as well. So it seems like then you're dropping down the middle class into working class, which probably wouldn't appreciate. Then again, they might like being called working class. Give them a sense of entitlement, thinking that they're working. But still, the ideal is that all the money just ends up with the rich people. Cool. What else is going on in the chat? You got COVID 3 years ago, because you coughed at least 3 times back then. That could have been another coronavirus. There were so many of them. Why do you think it's called 19? Either it was because it was made in 2019, or because there were 18 other types. Up to you to decide. Won't tell you. So, sorry, yes. So these chickens, do you think they're going to be giving them some chicken masks soon? Because I really hope so. I would. Oh, I would love to see that. I mean, yeah, they give them muzzles anyway, because when they're that close together, pecking order comes from hens. That they will literally peck each other to stop them getting from the food that they want. And that's why I call pecking order. So then they either have to de-beak them or put muzzles on them to stop them from killing each other with their beaks. It's pecking order. Because if you put them the top pecking order hens or roosters together, then they will kill each other by pecking them. Is the other half of Wasp called Susan? Yeah, sure, why not? You like Susan?
What I find funny is that it says, but in a joint statement, veterinary chief said whatever. The thing is, we don't need names. We don't need established people to say anything about this. We just need somebody to say something about this, or we can make them up and just say what they need to say that supports what we want to happen. And suddenly we have to close everything down legally because we just want to spread our little tentacles and just take care of this bit, take care of that bit. Now you can't even walk your dog outside. I don't know, it's just a little bit crazy. Listen to anybody.
Yeah, and it's true that they use the idea of anonymous sources to kind of just almost make up what they want, or just say to somebody, hey, you've got a good position here, and I'm not gonna put this quote down to you, but I'm just having trouble reading what is written here. Would you mind saying this? And then they go, yeah, I think it says swift action is needed. Okay, brilliant, thank you. Thank you very much. Then later on, this veterinary chief says swift action was needed. But you're not going to name him, because otherwise that wouldn't be very nice to your sources. And it's, I know, again, that you might think it's kind of hypocritical, where you got somebody like Edward Snowden, the whistleblower, of course, against the CIA, that is trying to say, well, he's got his anonymous sources, and then Trump is trying to strike a deal saying, hey, if you release your anonymous sources and tell us about the whole Russiagate scandal, then you'll be spared a prison sentence. And he's saying, no. Was that Snowden? No, that was Assange, wasn't it, about Russiagate instead? Yeah, because of WikiLeaks. Yeah. So, Assange. It was basically the same deal for both Assange and Snowden. But especially Assange, so, no, I value my sources more, and I'm going to keep them anonymous. And the reason that you're afraid of it is because what we've shown is true. And this is just facts and evidence that you can all look into yourself and find out to be actually true. Whereas the difference here is just it's an opinion. And they're using the appeal to authority fallacy, essentially, to say, well, this important person said it, therefore it must be true. So who is the important person? What are their credentials then? They're a very important person. They're a VIP. But
they're a veterinary. I'm becoming PewDiePie now.
Oh, God. Negligible, yes. Their advice is negligible at best for the veterinarians. Yes, but on the flip side, of course, you've got some people who will come out with their names as well.
Sorry, that was a symptom of COVID, actually.
Oh yes, of course. What a Biden moment.
I did this in support of the. No.
Oh yeah, Biden lives matter. But yes, what was I on about now?
Sorry.
Crikey. That if you got somebody else, for example, that would actually do a sworn affidavit and put their name forward and the rank, like 4-star general, that kind of thing, then there's definitely more to it, because then they're coming out and saying exactly what it is, and they're putting in particular evidence as well and putting their career on the line. So it has more credence, because that isn't an appeal to authority per se. It's basically saying there's this person who has this much to lose. They do have a history of kind of knowing what they're talking about, and they're putting that all on the line and risking losing all of that if they're wrong. That's the difference. So there is definitely still some appeal to authority fallacy, and I'm not trying to say it isn't true at all, but there's more to it because they've built up a good reputation and they are putting it all on the line for what they're saying, so it does lend it more credence as well as the specific accreditations that they have, essentially. But yeah, swift action was needed. What was it? Keep them indoors and kill them. That was basically it. Yeah. So a turkey farm in Norfolk is among those to have found an outbreak of the H5N8 bird flu strain. The birds will now be slaughtered to prevent the spread. While the news will be of particular concern to poultry farmers in the run-up to Christmas, the new rules will apply to all bird owners in Britain, which seems to be the new thing, essentially. That, this person has the sniffles. Everybody like them must quarantine. It's like, aren't we supposed to quarantine the sick? Everybody's sick now.
It didn't work for humans. Why would it work for chickens?
I didn't say that it was basically the movement of animals in close proximity to humans that led to a load of the plagues in history as well. That's why there was like the missing plague, which CGP Grey did a video on, of the Native Americans to the Europeans, that they didn't have one because they didn't have the farms and the animals in close proximity. And that was about it. But back to the comments, what are we saying now? Are we still on the moon landings?
President-elect. Show me the evidence.
Oh yeah, isn't that saying that I'm surprised that two septenarians can keep it up for this long? Well, that basically it. Yeah. Moon landings.
Some moon stuff.
Yep, still moon landings. Okay. Cool. Although I'm not gonna take a stance one way or the other. I'm just gonna be open and honest that, as far as I'm concerned, the people have been to the moon, because I'd be surprised that Russia were involved with it as well, to give credit to the US. But the thing is about any of these conspiracy theories, and just the way the news is reported now, the worst thing about it is that, maybe it's always been the case, but journalists are not doing journalism at all. Like, if you actually want to know what's going on, you can't just keep up with the news. You have to investigate the news yourself. In which case, why the fuck are we paying journalists? Because they're not really investigating the news. They're just repeating the same thing, and exactly, and that's about it. But maybe I'm missing something here. Eva, do I have Telegram? No, not yet. But same thing with Telegram and Parler. Will do soon. I'm just in the process of getting a new SIM card and phone for this, but unfortunately, seeing as I'm working 7 days a week at the moment, I don't have any days off or any time in order to do it. Just trying to do grocery shopping is difficult enough, and I have to go late night when the music's playing, which is a nice aura. That reminds me, some big Asda supermarkets, late night, their vibe is fantastic. Seeing as we can't go to clubs or anything like that.
Have a little party by the alcohol aisle.
just go to Asda at 9 o'clock, reduced to clear, bean sprouts for 10 pence. That is the life. Oh dear. I say, you find Wasp News very reliable. Thank you. I do try. It's just because I'm not sponsored and I'm never getting monetized, so I've got nothing to lose. You must have found this place via Reva then. Yeah, probably, and I appreciate that, so thank you very much, Reva. But, moving on, speaking of veganism, any idea? This is one you picked up, Susan.
Is that me?
That's you, Susan, yes. Yeah, you're Susan.
Okay.
So, but think about it, like Matt Christiansen, the Beauty and the Beta, that was just from audience recommendations to call them Beauty and the Beta. So
nice, okay.
You're more than welcome to be
Right.
Susan. Singapore approves a lab-grown meat product, a global first. Go ahead, Susan.
Well, the future is here. No meat for you, just the lab-created stuff. I just don't understand. Okay, maybe that's part of the previous story there. Let's keep the birds kept to the side until we don't need them anymore, and how convenient that we can't get enough birds to eat now, so we are just going to produce some fake meat for you. Isn't that nice?
But it's not fake meat though, is it?
Lab meat.
Yeah, but isn't it still meat?
What, lab meat?
Isn't it still meat?
I find it difficult to label that meat.
But why? Surely if it's going by the same like stem cells, or just the same cell, it doesn't have to be a stem cell actually. It
We
could
are
just be the cell.
products of our environments.
Right, but surely if you have the cells and you give them the food that they need and you're not pumping them full of antibiotics, isn't that better? Because then you're still growing meat.
Let's
And
just
then
have a look at
animals
this
don't have
here.
to be killed.
Hong Kong. Do you think it's going to be what you say it is?
It's Hong Kong. It's not Uyghurs. We're not talking about human meat. Yeah, I'm not subscribed to the New York Times. Oh, okay.
Not
Fair
a
enough.
fan of cultured chicken.
No. So the company is based in San Francisco and describes its product as real high-quality meat created directly from animal cells for safe human consumption. It's
What
like,
does that even mean?
it reminds me, I think it was Domino's when they had that pizza advert, and then now with real cheese. It's like, what were you using before? It was like, this food is safe for human consumption. So isn't that what food is? Isn't that just a prerequisite? Why are you saying this? Singapore's food agency said on Wednesday that it had approved the product for sale as an ingredient in chicken nuggets. That is just the epitome of high quality food. Chicken nuggets.
nuggets.
Yeah, or chicken tendies, as you might say. Your
I
chicken
wouldn't
strips.
say that.
Oh dear. Oh, Steph is a carnivore. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Oh, hello there.
Susan is quite a carnivore herself. It's basically from Peterson, isn't it? Dr. John B. Peterson and his daughter.
Yes.
That they've been taken by beef, and you've experimented with that yourself. You've
Or
done it
Paul
more than I have.
Saladino. It depends on which route you.
The guy
go
with either
down,
the surname includes salad.
Yes.
Salad in? No. At least it works.
The salad out.
At least it
please.
works. But yeah, what's your experience been of carnivore then?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
What stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pretty amazing actually. It's quite an interesting thing that you think you might not do so well in, and suddenly you're thriving, and you don't need much sleep. Your issues go away. Your brain fog goes away. You become more productive. Just loads of positive things, really.
So were you carnivore now?
I'm not carnivore, no.
But if all those good things, why aren't you carnivore now?
It's quite a difficult thing to keep up with if your life isn't on the line, so to speak, or if you're not really seriously in danger right now. So essentially, I'm not taking it seriously enough yet.
But so you're saying it's easier to do when life is difficult and things are happening beyond your control than it is when things are predictable and planned.
What?
Is that what you're saying?
It's easier to do when you've got no other choice. That's what I'm saying.
Well, at what point do you not have a choice? At what point do you only have a choice to eat meat?
Well, wow, you're asking the difficult questions here, putting me on the spot. What I mean is that once you go down the illness route and you get worse and worse, you decide for yourself, okay, if I actually want to get better, I really need to start doing something now. And that point is different for other people. It's not that you don't really have a choice. You have a choice to keep going as you are going. But I mean, for me, and I assume for most other people, you'd have some self-preservation thing going on there.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. So it's similar to just like becoming overweight. They like look at the and go, oh, I'm 200 pounds. I should probably do something about that. And then you don't, and you go, oh, I'm 250 pounds. I should probably do something about that. I'm getting quite overweight now. I'll look into that. Oh, I'm 300 pounds. I
It's
should
just
probably.
who I am
It's like,
now.
oh, I can't see the scale anymore. Fuck it.
That's good. Don't need to keep up with that anymore.
Just when you end up buying your clothes in 3 sizes of extra large, jumbo, and oh my god, it's coming towards us.
I just propose not buying new clothes until you fit into your old ones and need new, tighter clothes.
Well, that's what
Smaller
Bill
clothes.
Burr was saying as a man, that as you get older, you might end up getting a bit fatter and you might need to let your suits out. But your favourite suit, just keep that. Don't let that one out, because that will be your goal to fit back into. Like, you might need a suit before then, in which case, sure, let that one out too. But your goal should still be to get back into it. Similar to how women do the thing for, oh, I can still fit in my wedding dress. It's that
Or
kind
my
of
prom
idea.
dress. Have you heard that from high school?
I've never had a prom dress.
Oh,
I've missed out.
Harry Styles does.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Of course, I'm mentioning him. We should have mentioned him with the puberty blockers. I think he was one of their first victims.
Oh, Jesus. Well, thanks, Steph. Yeah, it is a very hard diet to stick to. I'm not sure who you mean by Bard K.
You have to.
Do you?
No,
Do you have an idea?
I don't. It's just not my thing. You'll
How
have to
is
look
this
into
not
it. I
your
just eat
thing?
once a day because I don't have time for food. That's it.
Right.
So OMAD is
Yes,
my
Roman's
diet.
very good. I like fasting a lot. I've been doing a lot of fasting.
I don't like
recently.
it. I just work too much to have time for food.
Well,
That's why I don't edit
surely
these videos.
you
I
like
don't
how
have
it
time.
makes you feel. A little bit.
It makes me feel hungry.
That's it. That's the only thing it makes you feel. Okay.
That's really it.
I
Sorry.
feel really sorry for you.
Maybe I need some cultured chicken.
Maybe you need to do a longer fast.
The last time I did a 7-day water fast and I just felt incredibly cold.
Yes, yes, and
I felt like 7 layers. That was it.
yeah, long fasts.
But
Quite
before
a
this
challenge.
becomes too much of a diet podcast or a diet live stream, sorry.
That
we
would
should
be
probably-
my sort of podcast. Okay, let's.
Oh, I have to do a special for you.
Okay.
If you're
A
interested in
Christmas special. No, I'm joking.
a Christmas special where people are enjoying, chocolates like roses, Toblerone, Christmas pudding,
And I'm
mince
saying,
pies.
no, put that down.
It's okay. So I just do I have snake juice when fasting?
Oh yeah, snake. Do you not know what snake juice is?
Oh, I thought this like
no, it's a thing.
like crocodile tears and snake juice like snake oil. I thought that's what we're talking about.
No,
It's just a
no,
shit
no.
thing. It's like, oh, your car it needs a replacement of blinker fluid. Oh yeah, does it? Yeah.
Well,
No, I
there's
don't know
this
snake
guy
juice.
whose name oh, is that what you meant? Oh, I forgot the guy's name, but yeah, there's this thing called snake juice. I think it's kind of like electrolytes, from if memory serves me right, or it's something that you have that I think it's electrolytes essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, some concoction there that you drink, and that helps regulate.
No, I
Your
did a
body.
7-day water fast. On the 5th through 7th day, I had some salt. That was it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it
salt
was pure
is-
water.
Yeah, salt helps.
Because there was a chap I saw who did a 28-day water fast. And he lost a lot of weight with it and ended up keeping it off as well.
That's very good.
Because during that time, you have a lot of time to meditate and re-establish what's important. Because, it's if at that point it's obviously a sugar addiction and just addicted to the mouth pleasure,
Mhm.
as Joe Rogan would say, or a minute on the lips, lifetime on the hips, as they
Yeah.
say. So
It's
you
true,
then
yes.
find joy in other things, and so you go and focus on that instead, and therefore after your water fast you don't really need it. Oh, Himalayan salt spaces snake juice. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right then, Susan. Well done.
Thank you, Wasp.
But moving on to the Earth is flat and back on the back of a turtle. Yeah, no. Moving on to not really trusting, shall we say, what the government is doing, and not really sure where things are going.
Oh, Keto Christmas special when? Okay, we have to make it happen then.
So what?
Let's do it.
I only did keto for like a month and a half, and that was it. And I had a friend who did it, but he wasn't really into it, and he couldn't be asked to figure out what he could and couldn't eat. So he did it for a month and just ate cheese, and then he got sick of eating cheese, and so he didn't. So he ended up eating like only twice a week because he didn't want to eat cheese
That's
every day,
amazing.
but he didn't eat
But
anything
he
else.
stuck to it. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay.
He stuck there for a month.
Well done.
He was only eating cheese.
No, I like keto.
Oh,
Keto's
dear.
good. There's so much food to eat. Okay, just cheese.
Yeah,
Okay.
fine, okay. Yeah, we'll
Alright,
do
so-
we'll do a special.
Okay,
We'll do a special.
you asked.
We'll provide. Looking forward to those super chats. I'm sorry. But yeah,
Send cheese.
not who needs a super chat when you got super cheese? So my cheddar vision is activated. So yeah, Bitcoin, yay, cryptocurrency, everybody's favorite. Bitcoin soars to record high after Yellen confirmation. So Bitcoin price just accelerated higher, soaring above last week's highs and the record intraday high from December 2017. So as we've seen, with the uncertainty, since well, basically, it's like it's coming up, because November. And then saying, we don't know what's happening, and then we're thinking, well, with Biden coming in as well, it's like, well, we're fucked. We've got to try and get things offshore as much as possible. As in like offshore accounts, and hide it and be digital nomads, as Dominic Frisby says, because he's written a great book on taxes and how things are always seem to revolve around on taxes and taxation, saying that now that we're going to see like a a sixth, I think it is, or at least 10% then, as a lowball estimate of people becoming like digital nomads, which is just working online and therefore not needing to stay in one particular place and then moving around the earth. That they're already having trouble as to decide, well, where do I pay the income tax? Like they're not trying to avoid tax, not that they'll admit to, but they don't know what to do. So what are they supposed to do about income tax? Like, surely at this point it would be far easier to just go with, well, get rid of income tax. It was supposed to be there for the Napoleonic Wars anyway. That was why it's brought in, and just a temporary measure, or the First World War for America. And they go, okay, income tax doesn't matter. Instead of that, we're going to do it like sales tax or VAT. So when you pay somebody for a service, because most of the digital nomadism will be like freelance anyway, it's like you're paying them and you're based in this country, or the transaction is happening here, in which case we're just going to take a part of that payment there. We're not caring about how much they earn, because income tax only needs to be there if it's a marginal tax rate. If you have it as a flat tax, you don't need income tax, because you just take it out of the person paying it, and the person receiving adjusts their prices accordingly, essentially. So if you just do it that way, then you're done, and you don't have to worry about losing out on income tax. You just have it flat across the board. That's an easy solution. So then the same thing goes with if you're being paid Bitcoin. It's like, well, it's a percentage. It's 20% VAT, for example. So this person's done a lot of work for you. So you pay them 1 Bitcoin. Well, then the government takes 0.2 Bitcoin and you give them 0.8. That's an easy solution. But I know that will never catch on because it's an easy solution, and that will mean there'll be fewer accountants around because there'll be fewer loopholes and tax write-offs, and so it's never going to catch on. But that's an easy way. But you say Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme with a Y, not an I. Maybe there's a hidden messaging in there somewhere. But in a way, yes. There are some more Bitcoin being created though, so it kind of falls down there, because a Ponzi scheme is where you get new investors to pay off the old investors. In which case, gold is a Ponzi scheme, in the same way Bitcoin is, because the new buyers are paying off the old buyers. There's no new value being created, so it's a Ponzi scheme. But I think that's kind of a stretch of the definition. And yeah, insider traders, well, that's obviously where the money is. Obviously. And yeah, Riva, just saying, international bridge currency. Yeah. However, the thing is that cryptocurrency with blockchain technology is a kind of problem, because it's difficult to keep track of who has how much, and they can't confiscate it like they can with regular bank accounts. So they want to go cashless so that they can track every payment, and why, COVID's brought about, because it accelerates the cashless society that was put forward by the EU just a couple of years ago, because then they can track the money. So that, you can't have cash because they don't know where it's gone. It doesn't leave a paper trail, ironically, because it's the paper, or cotton and linen blend, but now it's a plastic polymer. But anyway, they're trying to go cashless so that they can see where all the money goes. If they then have a cryptocurrency, it's far more difficult to see where it goes, and they can't seize the money. And I know, you can sometimes see where it goes, depending, because with some of them, their wallets are public, because of blockchain, and everybody has access to it, and that's how it works. It's decentralized. And that's why I suppose you're saying that it'll be a centralized digital currency, and Bitcoin will be kept around on a tight leash. The illusion of freedom, isn't it? That's it. And you're saying cannot confiscate it. It's not as if you could go to like PayPal or a bank and say just close their account. That's what I mean by it. That's what I mean. It's like, if you've got it stored on like a laptop, obviously they can take that, as people have found that, I did have a couple of Bitcoin like 5 years ago. It's on that laptop, but I can't find it anymore. And they're searching for like $40,000. But that's not quite what I mean. I mean a place like a payment processor or something like, let's say, PayPal or a bank, where the government can go, we're just going to take that money. Like what happened to Cantancular. That he was fined £600. He said he wouldn't pay it, and the government just seized his money. That kind of thing isn't going to happen. Is there anything to add, Susan?
No, I kind of was. Oh, I was just going to say about the digital nomad thing, that now that we need vaccine passports, potentially that'll be more difficult as well. Just haven't thought of that.
Yeah, but that's going to push more people online, and there's always going to be unforeseen consequences from government intervention. And I think the digital nomadism and not knowing where the money is going is going to be an aspect of that. And if they do try and crack down, at that point, people are going to move a lot quicker than the government. So it's going to be too decentralized that I think there's always going to be a way around it, at least somewhere on Earth anyway. So, we have some agreement. And Adrian, I think we both know we disagree with each other a lot, but you're keeping things very civil, as hopefully am I, and I'm so grateful, I really am, to find somebody that I really disagree with on, it seems like a multitude of issues, and yet we can address it, we can bring things forward, and we can both learn from each other, because you're bringing things forward that I'm not aware of, you're asking difficult questions, and you're making me question my assumptions, and hopefully I provide a similar value to yourself. And I'm really grateful, and this is why I hate censorship, because if I go, oh, I disagree with this person, therefore I don't want to hear anything from them, it's, well, no, because you might have something worth saying that I'm not aware of, and it's worth me knowing and challenging my assumptions and core beliefs. So thank you for bringing forward these questions. Maybe we'll find some agreement some more at some point in the future, but either way, thank you for providing the follow-up and the pushback to what I'm saying. I appreciate it. But thinking of hopelessness, thanks, Adrian, and I hope you also appreciate, there's no hard feelings. We disagree with each other, and that's it. But otherwise, it's fine. I appreciate your help, basically, or your advice. So yeah, after that nicety, that really cheesiness, let's go back to desperation, because that's what news is all about these days. In Trier, 5 die as car plows through Germany pedestrian zone. And this was something, Susan, that you brought up. Why did you bring up a German man plowing through 5 people?
Well, it's just a really sad story, and I wanted to depress your audience, actually. No, it's because I think... Okay, so they say a little bit down the article that he was intoxicated, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to talk about how that could relate to COVID and the fact that we're sitting at home being really sad, being depressed, being perhaps scared of what's about to happen. We lose things, relationships, money, whatever. And we turn to what? Addiction, maybe, perhaps. It could be alcohol, it could be food, it could be, I don't know, some sort of other self-harm, I guess. But we're laughing at the German man named Mo, I guess.
I know I've said this before, but just as an aside, it's just the Wikipedia joke. It's like, well, but because Leicester has so many Muslims now, I think that we should appreciate this new cultural heritage they're providing and rename the city to Mo Leicester. Yeah, sorry, you're saying yes. Alcohol sales have increased as people have turned to intoxication instead, because it's, as Johan Hari says, and he's brilliant on addiction, that it's good to just kind of space out from the time of what you're doing. And I'm sorry, Steph. You live in Leicester. I hope you appreciate the joke, seeing as you probably see it around you all the time. We're all sympathising. Oh dear. That, yeah, it could be, but as I say, because it's down to intoxication, if the driver was drunk, then it was a bad Muslim, and if it was a bad Muslim, it's unlikely that they're trying to take out innocent civilians like this, because that's what good Muslims do. Not my opinion, just what Muhammad said, of course.
I didn't know that was in there. I thought it was just a man.
No, it's not. It's just whenever these things happen, if they don't mention who it is, it's probably because they're Asian, which is to say Middle Eastern. Yeah. But then, of course, it depends on your interpretation of the Quran. Like, it could be you're just not allowed wine, or you are allowed wine because it's like fermented grapes and all that. But yeah, there you go. So, footage posts on social media appear to show the presumed driver being held by several officers next to the damaged car. Police have been questioning the suspect, who was alone and has been identified by German media as Burned W. Guess he wasn't as burned as the victims. Sorry, too soon. Okay.
There were some babies there. That's not
Spicy
okay.
joke.
That's
Okay,
that's
fine,
really
yes.
bad.
Yes, you're only allowed to joke about babies when they haven't been born yet. So,
Oh my gosh.
so okay. Right, yeah, so that's that. Just understanding what people go to, essentially, and it's in a similar way to the suicides earlier. I know this guy hasn't killed himself, but it clearly shows the lack of desire to live.
Well, it could have been with the intention to kill himself anyway, so driving into a building or something like
Yes,
that. You never know.
If it was, oh, it also comes down to the time of it. Like, if it was in the evening, then you could think it was a drunk driver who had been out and drinking. But no, instead it happened at 1:45 in the afternoon, which doesn't really suggest he's been out partying and it was a drunk driver on the way home.
No, that's depression there.
That's a morning drinker. It's the kind of whiskey that goes well as breakfast, you know. So it's like
You recommend a whiskey for the morning?
famous grouse. It's a morning whiskey.
I've got my morning whiskey. I've got my afternoon whiskey. I've got my evening whiskey.
That's what Churchill did.
I've got my depression whiskey.
Johnny Walker Red Label, line the glass, soda water. That was what he drank, and a lot of champagne. That was he was very much a drunk. Yeah, it's like yeah. But that was one of his witty remarks, wasn't it? It's like Churchill, like, you're a drunk. It's like, yes, and you're ugly, but in the morning I'll be sober. You'll still be ugly. That's it. But no, Churchill wouldn't be sober in the morning. So,
Probably not.
we'll have curry in the chat. Yes, that is. I know you mean it tongue in cheek, goat's cheek, but it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like we got all this multiculturalism. It's like, yeah, what do we get out of it? Curry. It's like, yeah, I mean, you kind of got to accept that there are going to be rapes and molestation and benefit fraud, because you're going to try a new spice. It's like,
Well, when you put it like that.
it's like, I like cumin, I really do, but not really worth rape. Maybe I'm in the minority of that. You could hit me with some serious stuff, but now it's not the time. Well, hey, I'll say when I get Telegram, which will be soon, and just message me there. More than happy to, because I presume it's serious stuff that YouTube wouldn't allow. So we'll find something else for it. No worries, and hopefully I'll be able to bring it on this channel one way or another. Yeah, by all means. But something. But yes, as 14 says, if you're happy to hit us with the serious stuff, then please do. So. Something a bit more light-hearted, because I think we could do with that. Lesser news. Driver is cleared of criminal charges after boasting that he drove from John O'Groats to Land's End in a record-breaking time with average speed of 89 miles per hour. And I really like this story. I really, really do, because it's just that almost like pioneering renegade spirit of someone saying, well, hey, there's a record and I want to break that record. I was like, yeah, but it's kind of illegal and it's a bit dangerous. Yeah, but I just want to break that record, you know? It's just from one end of the country to the other in the fastest time. I really want to do that. To me, it's just that whole mentality, especially when it takes 9 hours and 39 minutes that Thomas Davis claimed to have made the journey in 9 hours and 36 minutes. He said it was a new record covering the 837-mile trip from Land's End to John O'Groats. Police prosecuted him for dangerous driving and perverting course of justice. The 29-year-old from Wales was cleared by a jury at Truro Crown Court today. Except he did still have a £100 fine from Scottish speed cameras. The idea was they had like transponders in the car to show where speed cameras or police traps were coming up, or maybe even disable them, but none of that seemed to be true. And then he had false plates, but it's like, well, no, actually, he says that it was a friend's car, and the false plates, which were Irish, is because they were Irish people, and that's why. So here he is in the car, and he has a provocative photo in front of a speed camera, of course, with a modified Audi that they took to do the journey, and there's been a long investigation into this of trying to find like mobile phone footage as well, and then say, well, then these plates, who do they belong to? And then they haven't been able to find the driver, and he's saying that he isn't, and they can't prove that he's the driver, in which case they can't prosecute him for being the driver, and that's, how he got away with it. So I like it. I'd like to think that he did manage it all by himself, average speed 90 miles an hour, and like, oh, that's encouraging reckless behaviour. And you think, well, yeah, maybe, but also bear in mind that the speed limits of 70 miles an hour were from the 70s, I think it was, maybe even the 60s, when the roads weren't as good, the cars weren't as good, and the brakes weren't as good. And so these days, nah, you could be just as safe going at 90 than you would be 40 years ago going at 70, in which case it's kind of understandable. And if you're that kind of person, you're going to be far more aware and alert if you're driving quickly than if you're driving at 70 and falling asleep. And I think we probably all had that experience. That if you're going down where there are roadworks and it's just at 50 miles an hour, if it's an average speed check, then you're fucking hating it because you're looking more at the speedometer than you are at the road in front of you to make sure that you're just doing 50, or you're looking at GPS because it's more accurate, so your speedometer is showing 54 and then your GPS is showing 50, and you're just looking at that instead of the road in front. Or if there's traffic and you're just cruising at 60, going, oh, I'm kind of falling asleep. But then if you ever sped, or actually let's not encourage speeding, if you're then doing 60 around country lanes and you're just trying to keep at the speed limit of 60 on a single carriageway, then you're going to be far more awake even though travelling at the same speed, because it seems like you're travelling faster. So the same thing goes for this chap. They're just going to be more alert. But it's just my theory. But I thought it was nice to see somebody like this, that even in this time, and yes, it was 6 months ago, and I would say surely that's one of the best times to do it, seeing as COVID and people are off the roads. He's like, well, bloody hell, this is my opportunity. That somebody seeing a bad time and viewing it as an opportunity to go for it, that good on them. But yeah, sorry, anything you wanted to add to this little hellraiser here, this boy racer, this 29-year-old?
No, not to that story.
Okay, and then to wrap it up, in the spirit of travelling.
No, there's two more.
Two more?
Yeah, there's that.
Oh yeah, there's two more. Yeah. Penultimate from EasyJet, to charge for overhead luggage lockers, basically going the same way as Ryanair. EasyJet, or QueasyJet, depending on how you know it, have of course found it difficult to stay afloat, keep their planes up, to keep in the air during the lockdown, and of course had to furlough staff, let staff go, in order to keep the company actually working and keep their aircraft, because all the time they're on the ground they're not making any money. If anything, they're costing money because of hangar costs and maintenance, for example. So they were, well, shit, we need to be able to make a bit more money somehow. And so they went, well, overhead locker space. There we go. And what they've tried to do, actually, is kill two birds with one stone. Because you might know, especially with offers like this, that if you say, oh, you got a free overhead locker space of this particular size bag, that in the overhead lockers that cover 3 seats, you could only fit 2, maybe 2.5 bags in the overhead locker space. So if everybody did it, you then have a lot in the hold anyway. And yeah, it would be free in the hold, but if you put it in the hold, then you're not limited to the 100ml liquid travel restrictions, but which you are if it's carry-on luggage, in which case, if you want it in the hold, then you would put it in the hold, because you would be allowed more liquids, for one, but also then you have to wait the other side for the baggage handlers to deal with your stuff in order to take them out and then put them on the conveyor, and for you to get them, and then you got to wait in the queue instead of just walking straight through because you've got your carry-on luggage. So by doing this, saying just for the seat in front of you, then instead of trying to share overhead locker space, you all have the same size seat space in front of you. So you can do that for everybody. And then unless you've got a flexible ticket, or you're the frequent flyer, or you've got a increase leg space ticket, like either at the front, but if you're at the front, then you've also kind of got to be taught on how to use the emergency doors, and you can't be like elderly, if frail, a child, pregnant, obese, fat, and anything like that. There's a list of things they have to go through. If you're sat there, then they might have to ask you to go. Yeah, so you're seated in 1A, but we've noticed you are a little bit of a chunky monkey, so we're going to have to ask you to move. Yeah, as is the case. And the same goes for the overwing seats. It's more leg room. So yeah, do you know why there's more leg room? It's because there's an emergency exit there, and people have to run through this aisle where your leg room is in order to escape the plane. And if you're sat there in an emergency, you might notice that there aren't any cabin crew around. It is solely down to you to open the door and chuck it out. And it weighs about 20 kilos. That's why you have more leg room there. But yeah, if you're paying for that, from £8 to £23, then you also get to have your overhead luggage stored. That's what they're saying. So it does definitely help in terms of freeing up more space as well, and make people pay for everything that they're using. The next step that they could go to, and I really hope that they do, is basically, yeah, so you've got your hold luggage allowance of a particular weight, like 23 kilos, but there's also you. So what we're going to say is...
Paid by the kilogram.
Exactly. So we're going to say there's like a 100 kilo limit for you and your luggage. Because also people like stuff items in their overcoat.
But you can't control your height, for example, so then you're at a disadvantage.
Yes, true. However, it doesn't matter, because although you might then be, it might suck for Scandinavians, for example, it's that if you weigh more, you're going to be using more fuel. In which case, yeah, you're taller, you're healthy, you're like Arnold Schwarzenegger, where you weigh like 100 kilos by yourself, or 200 pounds actually, but near enough 100 kilos actually at his prime. And yeah, he's clearly very muscular. He's just one big muscle, and he's not fat at all. However, it's the weight that matters. So
maybe it's better to put it in a BMI sort of category, or how much fat you have on you instead, because I think
that's too difficult to do, for one. And you're thinking of the minority of people. It's a similar argument for like the trans community and the like, or saying abortion should be okay because of rape and incest. It's like such a small amount that for the vast majority of people, it's okay. And also, these people that have the mentality to weigh a lot but be healthy are probably going to understand where you're coming from. And if they're tall and heavy and healthy, they've got the halo effect, which means they're going to be earning more money. Like most CEOs are above 6 foot because people are drawn towards them. In which case, they're going to be more intelligent, most likely, and be earning more, most likely, that they're going to be understanding of it and okay with it and be able to afford it. So I'd say, yeah, it's fine. But sorry, go ahead if you want. I think
I don't see it working, but I can see how you make sense there. I can't see it actually happening. I think that
no, it won't.
Loads of people will be infuriated by it because there's this concept of fairness, things seeming fair, so that's just not gonna fly.
Not gonna fly. Oh dear. All right. But yeah, concept of fairness. I like that instead of actual fairness. But to finish things up, as a coincidental story, seeing as we've had all the talk about electoral fraud, and what are the chances this could have happened at random? Well, coincidences happen. If coincidences didn't happen, then it will be even weirder, because if something has a small chance of happening, it will happen. Whereas if something doesn't happen, it's got no chance of happening, and that isn't likely. So, South Africa's lottery probed as 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 drawn, and 20 people win. Yeah, 20 people win for the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What I would
nothing
like to see,
suspicious here.
Oh no, I don't think so. I really don't. Because if it was rigged, then why would you go with the numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10? That seems to be pretty bloody obvious. Why wouldn't you go for like 3, 17, 21, 23, 31, and 45? And then the lucky number 6. You know.
Yeah, that would have been a little bit easier to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And seeing as 20 people win, I want to know how many of these 20 people, because they don't say, asked for the numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then why would they, if it's supposed to be so bloody unlikely and silly, It's like, well, then why would you bet them? Unless they're conspiratorially minded as well, which case fair enough. And how many of them just went with a lucky dip and got given those numbers at random, because these numbers, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, have just as much likelihood as turning up as any other number. And any of these numbers is almost impossible to turn up. So, it's it's gonna happen at some time. And you've probably got like a Fibonacci sequence as well. Like, you could find any different connection between numbers. Once you got a big enough sample, then you can pick any correlation that you want. Like there are sites that show these numbers got picked the most in lottery, and these ones got the least. So you could either go, well, these ones come up most, so pick these, or they should all come up equally. In which case, these ones are due because they haven't been picked in a long time. But at the end of the day, although we'll average out over enough time, you don't know what the next one is going to be, and it's not really reliable. Is the lady in the room Swedish? Maybe. It sounds blonde to you.
Does that mean I'm stupid? Is that a dumb blonde joke?
A blonde with a brain. It's a Labrador.
Oh my god.
It might be because I've mentioned the Beauty and the Beta earlier with Matt Christensen. I don't know. The lady in the room. Maybe that's...
The lady in the room. Should I be Susan or the lady in the room?
I like the lady in the room. Okay.
The lady. You're Sir Wasp and I will be the lady.
Wait. I can't tell. Are you referencing the Scottish minister? That like every member white. And it's just a hateful way of saying white. Can't tell. Okay, yeah, seeing as you're making him laugh, saying the lady in the room, then it is the
Lady Susan.
This is live, and the lady is by his side. There we go. This is all pre-recorded. We're just very good at predicting what's going to happen.
Just like this lottery thing. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we picked it. See if you guys would catch on.
Exactly.
And you have. Wow. Well done. I love this. I love it so much. And yeah, you're not a lady. We're railing against the trans lobby, and you're actually a man. Or maybe I'm the lady and she's the man.
You got it all wrong.
What now? Oh god. Your dream was to marry a blue-eyed blonde. I wonder why. Is it because your name without the D is Aryan? That would work.
Whoa.
You sort of made it. You haven't married, you've stalked instead. No, I'm sorry. Well done. I hope you're happy. But yes, back to South Africa. They say Tuesday's Powerball lottery saw the numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 drawn, as the Powerball itself was 10. The organisers say the sequence is often picked, but some have alleged a scam and an investigation is underway. It is extremely rare for multiple winners to share the jackpot. Yeah, but when it's numbers like this, surely you would expect it. The organisers said 20 people purchased a winning ticket and won about £250,000 each. Another 79 ticket holders won 6,283 rand, which isn't that much. It's basically removing a zero, so and then halving it, so it's like £300. Each for guessing the sequence from 5 up to 9, but missing the Powerball. Chances of winning South Africa's Powerball lottery are 1 in 42 million. The number of different combinations when selecting 5 balls, yeah. Plus an additional bonus ball from a pool of 20. Okay, so theirs are slightly different. The odds of the draw resulting in numbers seen in Tuesday's televised live event are the same as any other combination. Exactly. Competitions resulting in multiple winners are rare, but this may have something to do with this particular sequence. Exactly. But they're saying that, it's rigged, there must be fraud, what's going on? I said, well, these things do happen. It would be weirder if they didn't. It's South Africa, it's not as if it's a big one, but yeah, sure, okay. South Africa might be more ripe to being corrupted, if you will. But why would they pick such obvious numbers? I just thought it was quite a funny thing to end the stream on. Have you got anything to add before we wrap things up and finish up with the chat? Wow. Yes. There's nothing funny than just saying that something is funny. It's like, oh, you're so funny. I'm laughing my tits off. They are on the floor. They are wiggling. That's just how funny. You can see them wiggling across to you on the floor.
I think we're going into McTow territory over here.
Oh, don't tempt me.
Whoa, look at this.
That could easily be my channel. You sort of made it. Your mum had blue eyes. You wanted to marry a blue-eyed blonde. You sort of made it. Your mum had blue eyes. I hope you didn't marry your mother.
Why did she evict you?
Oh no.
It's really horrible.
You got married, 3 kids. Wife got you to buy a big posh house a few years ago. Evicted you. Last year I was only 7 years old. Yeah, we're definitely turning into McTail. I sympathise. It's what they say, that when a man leaves his house, he kisses his wife goodbye, and when he leaves his wife, he kisses his house goodbye. That it's an example of that. It's mainly it's just the way that the family courts are set up, and it's something that I do rail against. I don't do it that much because it's always the same thing. Better Bachelor is definitely a way to go, and if you have
Grace.
if it's Alexander Grace as well, I would say Better Bachelor more so, or MGTOW 101, but I think he's gone briefly. Sandman would be another one, of course.
Before You Sleep is kind of MGTOW, but more so analysing toxic female behaviour in a way, but it's very MGTOW as well.
Yeah, so if this was recent, I don't know, you say just a few years later, she evicted you, that if you're having difficulty coming to terms with it, or not knowing what to do next, or struggling to find a community or like-minded people or anything like that, or by Marxist plans, what the family courts, it tears apart families, of course, same thing as BLM, they're Marxist and anti-family, of course. But if you're looking for people to kind of help out, to give more understanding, or for the kind of things you can do, or to try and remind yourself that you're great on your own and you can do these things independently, then I strongly recommend those channels. Better Bachelor, Alexander Grace, Sandman, and Think Before You Sleep. That those would be very, very worthwhile. They're more MGTOW, of course, but in the moment it seems like that's what you're looking. Update your wife now, guess what she did.
As she probably should.
Yeah, don't know your story well enough. But
but it sounds like it.
most likely. So, well done.
Oh no.
Oh, I love it, Steph. I love it. Keep asking my wife to sexually please me with the car keys, but she just keeps fobbing me off. Yeah, very good. I like it. Hey, Steph, you're just amazing at awful jokes. I love it. I really do.
Keep them coming.
It's like, when does a joke become a dad joke? When it becomes a pound.
Oh no.
It's very good. But we're going to wrap it up now because I got work in the morning.
It's already tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it is. It never stops. So thank you all for coming out. I greatly appreciate the support. Thank you for the shit jokes. And Adrian, thank you for the confrontation is too strong a word, but a pushback as well. Thank you everybody else for the support, and thank you Adrian for the questions. And I hope you're doing all right now, of course, and getting by. You got the support that you need, but it seems like you're getting by on your own perfectly fine. So well done. And Steph, following on from last week, I hope things are going fine when it comes to your children and the schools, especially in a place like Leicester. And with everybody else, until next time, hopefully Sunday 4 p.m. and have a good one, as always.